Hi, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and in this video we're going to continue our sort of walk through some spreads using some sample readings that are actual readings. We did already sort of a 5-card short spread in the last video, as well as a 6-card small reading. And in this video, we're going to look at the 9-card spread. And the 9-card is quite an important spread, I think, in Lenormand, because you not only can use it separately by itself, and is quite often used separately by itself, but you can also, it makes up a big chunk of how we go through and read the grand tableau, because we're finding sort of topic cards like the heart card or the work card or for the anchor, or we're looking at the significant other, or we're looking at the fish card for finances, and we're looking at the 9-card grid that creates around those cards, and that's how we're sort of walking our way through the grand tableau. And so that's why it is a particular spread that's quite important. Now, I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can do the 9-card in terms of laying it out. I'm going to show you 2 different ways depending on how you want to do it. Now, the first way is where you're going to be completely random about it, and by that I mean you are not going to look for the significator. You're going to have, as always, you're going to have a question or a focus in mind, but you're not going to pick the significator in the middle. You're going to let the significator tell us something on its own, which is going to be the middle card. And so what you'll do is go ahead and shuffle through. And so let's say we are, as we're going to do with the actual 9-card reading we do, it's going to be about work. And it's going to be about that day-to-day working that we have to do just to pay the bills sort of work. And so I won't trouble this too much, because this one I'm not going to actually read. But so what you'll do is you go ahead and shuffle it however you want, either deal off at the top or kind of see where you feel your natural break is, or cut it, however you like to do it when you're laying out cards. But then what you'll do is deal your middle card, which is going to be the focus. The focus is work, but this is going to tell us something about the focus. And then everybody's different. Some people, do the corners. Some people build across first and then fill it in. Like, everybody has different ways of filling in, so to speak, the 9-card. I personally do it this way. And it's because you'll see in the next why I kind of do it in order like that, but it is quite how I do it, and you'll see. Now let's see if I'm even anywhere. Yes, so we can bring these down a little bit, but we're not going to actually read this, so this is fine. But here we have, so here we've laid out our 9-card reading. We have our focus card in the middle, which is the bouquet, which is good. Okay, we've got some good motivation here. We've got some good fortune that's going to be surrounding work, because it's about work, but this is our focus card. And then this is our sort of motivation. What's motivating this? And so in this case, it might be about communication. Communication at work might be one of those important issues that we're going to look at. And then we'll go about our reading. And by the way, this is the Mystical Lenormand. Here's the back of this deck. It's quite a gorgeous deck, and it's nice, and it has astrological associations in the corners. So that's one way of doing it. And I'm just using a variety of decks just so you have a chance to see the different decks in action. The way that I would lay a 9-card spread if I wasn't pulling it out of an actual grand tableau, and this is the Celtic Lenormand that I'm going to be using right now. It's a gorgeous deck with the artwork by Will Worthington, and Chloe McCracken from Inner Whispers here on YouTube did the wonderful guidebook that goes with this. So what I would do if I want to be quite specific, and as we talked about in the 6-card, not the 6-card, as we talked about in the 5-card spread, that we did in the video previous to this, you know, one of the key things about Lenormand is the fact of cards that are close to or in juxtaposition or touching or near to the topic cards. That's quite important in Lenormand. And so one of the ways of sort of accessing that feature without laying out the grand tableau is looking for that topic card when you're going to do a smaller spread. So you would go through and do so. In this case, we're looking at there's somebody that I have done a few readings for in the past, and we have sort of narrowed our focus from a very large focus that was more on general internal well-being that we needed to kind of work to a specific place. And then we really looked at some long-term goals with moving her finances and those sort of things along to a place that they're being generated more in keeping with her heart and soul, so doing the things that creatively inspire her. So she has some long-term goals towards those particular venues or how to do it. But in the meantime, sometimes we might have these great goals and important goals. Well, sometimes we might have these important goals down the road that maybe need college, in order to see them. Might just need time, might need a lot of work. Maybe we're just not quite in a position to see them through, and we're going to be taking small steps towards it. But in the meantime, we need to work. We might in the meantime need to find a job that's just going to pay our bills and is going to just kind of get us along into the next step. And so that's the position that she finds herself in. And so now that she has these long-range goals and she knows where she's going, she just needs a little bit of focus on the actual okay, I still need to get a job in the meantime that gets me down the road and pays my bills. So that's what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to use the anchor card for the significator. So we go ahead and shuffle the cards and then we flip it over so that we can see the actual images on the cards, and we're going to look through and find the anchor card. So here's the anchor card, and we're going to place that down. And I know this is going to feel awkward, although we actually have the right amount here. We're going to take the 4 cards, so this was right here. We're going to take the 4 cards that were in front of it, and that's going to form, because this is how they would have been in a sense. We're going to do the 4 cards that are in front of it, and we're going to take the 4 cards that are after the anchor, and these are going to form the rest of our cards. Let me just make sure that you can see these cards. And I know these seem like frivolous and artsy or more to be, but they also are nice because they sort of give me my boundaries. I have somewhat of an idea with them of where I'm going to really go out of the viewfinder. I still have to check though. Okay, so now if you remember from the last video, I did give you a handout, and I will put a link to this again. And so this bottom half, as always, ignore Isabel. This bottom half takes a look at the 9 card spread. And this looks really complicated with different color arrows going all over the place, but you're just going to do this one step at a time. So here we go. The first step is either shuffle and lay in this order, or find the significator and lay the before and after as we just did, or locate the 9 cards in the grand tableau, which we'll do later. So the second step, card 1 is the focus. So this is always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 as I laid the cards out. Right, so this is our focus, which is our significator. If we had just done it randomly, like we did before, where we had the bouquet in the middle, that was also going to give us some more information about what is it we should be focusing on in terms of work. So we're going to start here in the middle and take a look at this, and then we're going to go step by step through these. So card 2 is the motivation, and this is actually a really apt motivation card for this particular reading that I'm doing for this client. So there is definitely, so clouds are to do with oppression, darkness, there's some weight things going on. You know, things aren't going real well. That's kind of what the clouds are. And we definitely have that issue in terms of work. She's been looking for work for a while. She's not really getting good options to go to. The ones that she feels like she has options to are ones that, yes, they might pay the bills, but they're really going to quite be sort of at odds with who she really wants to be and how she wants to live her life. And so there's just a lot of anxiety being generated and depression. There's more of a sense of depression that was being generated by these types of work issues that we're trying to alleviate. So that's the motivation, and that is definitely the motivation here is to try to find a way out of these clouds. We're trying to move to the light side of the clouds here. So then, if you noticed on the actual little chart here, we have the arrows coming down, because in Lenormand, when you find your significator, no matter what it is and what kind of spread it is, when you find the significator, the things that lie behind it are in the past, the things that are in line with it are the present, and the things in front of it are always the future. Now, how far into the future, and if you don't read in at all to the future, you know, those can be sort of your motivations, the actions you need to take. You know, that all depends on how you particularly read. But, you know, just to keep it at its simplest, we're always going to have the present as the line where the significator or topic card is, and then we have the past and the future. So we always kind of frame it that way, no matter where we're at. So we can start there. And so here we have this sense that things have been really difficult. And she's coming to a crossroads here, where she needs to make a choice in which direction she's going to go in. And she really does want to move in the direction of her, more along what she considers to be her destiny, or where she wants to reach. She knows that she can't get there right away, but that's kind of where she's moving. That's the path that she's taking with her job, with what it is it's going to make money and you know, finance her living, which we all need to have. And so that is certainly where we are in this particular, that's certainly where she is at right now. And this is a very apt description of her past in terms of work. Because remember, we're always reading it through the lens of what is the topic. And right now the topic is work. And so the past I have always found to be quite helpful, because the past, again, as I said, I think in the other video, sort of confirms to us that we have, the cards are going in the right place. The cards have something to say. We've connected to whatever the circumstances are, and we're kind of, that gives some credence, that gives us some faith in the cards that are moving in this direction, because we've sort of have the touchstone that's in the past, if that makes sense. So you can kind of read that linearly in a linearly fashion. That does not sound right. So that's what I basically did, is read it 1, 2, 3 like that. Now you can, as I've said with other 3 cards, pull out maybe the middle as the focus, which certainly would work in this aspect. This choice that she has is between where she is right now with things being quite difficult and things really not being fulfilling whatsoever, and finding her destiny. She's at this crossroads at this point in her life where she needs to figure out which way she goes. So you can also read it that way. But we already sort of, because I know, because we've already done we've done work before this, she's already kind of figured out this path. She knows in a sense where she's going, but the choice that she's stuck at right now is more to do with work, the day-to-day grind of working, and what is she going to do here. So there we have that. In her present line, we have some good good things going on here, because we do have the sense of something new. And this card has come up, or this type of card has come up in a few readings that we've done, again, over some deal of time. The fact that her old idea of work she's had to let go of that old idea of work and start to look at things in a new direction. So I was quite happy to see that show up in her present, because I think she certainly is at that point where she's approaching work from a new perspective, and that's certainly key to where she needs to go. Even in this day-to-day grinding of work, she's needing to come at it from a new perspective, because it's not working the way that it was going before. So here we have, up here we have number 9, which is the bouquet. This is a very positive card. This is about big luck and good fortune. It's also an invitation. So this is sort of an invitation to work. And it's going to come in it's a new beginning, it's a fresh start. So this gives the sense that very in a relatively near future, we're in our kind of present-y line, things are going to shift. I think just by nature of having the new perspective that she has, which is really starting to take hold in her mindset, that is going to cause those, sort of what we put out. When we're starting to look at things from a new light, we're going to see opportunities that we didn't see before. And so this sort of shows that her mindset, she has made that choice to not only, see how these kind of connect, these are all touching. So she's made a choice not only to follow the long-term look at her destiny, but she's also made a choice to look at her job from a new perspective, and that's having an impact on the way, and that's going to have an impact as she moves forward looking for a job, because she's going to be seeing other things that could be possibilities that she might have overlooked before, because she was kind of looking at things from a very rigid point of view. And so we have that sort of sense here, and we certainly with this have that sense that this is going to bring an invitation or maybe an offer that's going to be more in line with what she's looking for right now for work. And again, she's not really looking for this end goal right now. She knows that's down the road a ways, and she's going to have to work towards this. But there's something that's going to open up just in the regular job market that she's going to do because of this new perspective that she has. And then we kind of look into the future side, or we're moving forward, and it kind of has that aspect. You don't have to necessarily look at it from, okay, this is what's going to happen in the future, but we think about trajectories, and we think about if these things, if we work on what's happening presently and we get our present in alignment with what is good and right and that's going to work for us, it comes to follow that this might happen. And this is really helpful to know, because maybe we're going to see something that we're not really happy with, and so then we can make adjustments to our present in order to get our future to become more in alignment with what it is that we're looking for. And so in this line, we have a great sense of stability in the tree, and a great sense of well-being, and this often has to do with the body and to do with health, and this is certainly very appropriate for this particular client, that clearing up these issues and clearing up these oppressions and getting a better hold on where she's going and what she's going to do in the meantime is going to have an effect on her health. And it's going to have a transformative effect, because the snake has often to do with transformation as well. It's going to take some time, which sometimes this winding part of the snake has to do with that sense of it's not a straight path, but this is also often to do with transformation. Let me hold this card, because this is one of the reasons I absolutely love the Celtic Lenormand, because in the Celtic Lenormand deck, and I do have a review of it up where you can see all the choices, there are actually a couple of different choices for the snake card. And one of them has the snake shedding his skin, because snakes inherently, before we got this negative connotation of snakes through the Judeo-Christian sense of the Garden of Eden, snakes have a very positive meaning in the ancient past, and it has a lot to do with transformation, because they shed their old skin and something in this new and fresh being comes out of it. So I love this particular card that it shows the shedding. It's also got the moon, but it just has that, it just gives the snake card another layer. And I know that, I'm trying to think, Yeah, no, I didn't put that sense of transformation in the snake description. That is one, if I were you, I would add in, because that does come up with snakes. And so that is an aspect that you can use, and I certainly get that sense here. I'm trying to keep the meanings as I'm doing these pretty concise to what I did, but this is also is an actual reading, so I do want to go with what I actually see as well. So here we have that sense of well-being being restored through this process of transformation that has been long and winding. We do have that sense of winding with a snake card. And so we do have, this has not been an easy journey. This has not been a short journey. But a sense of well-being is going to be established, and we have it ending here with the what is normally the garden card. So in the Celtic Lenormand, they didn't have, obviously, manicured gardens like you would see in a traditional card, and so people didn't congregate in those areas. So what they painted, well, Worthington painted a scene of, we have all this wheat that's getting ready to be harvested, and people would all get together and have picnics and talk and socialize around clearing the fields. And so you still get that sense of community and people gathering together with this card, even though it has changed. I think it's called the meadow, but it's just, it's, you know, the concept is the same as the garden card. And so this is to do with community and many people and sort of a social situation. And so this is an indication to her that the field that she may be looking into moving towards is going to be a little bit broader in terms of there's something that she may be coming towards, more of a social setting, a bigger group setting. There can also be a sense of community that she's going to be moving into, just because I know the direction she may be moving with her long-term goals is going to bring her into another community that she really hasn't had access to up till now, because that's been also one of the problems in the past. So this card is particularly apt to show up for this client. So there we have our look. So we looked here at the middle, which of course is our, right now we put that there, so that's our anchor, about work. And then we looked here for our motivation, which was very apt to the situation. And we've just kind of looked at our past, present, and future as we see it here. So the next thing that we're often going to do is look at the corners. That's very also, these things that we're doing are very similar things that you're going to do in a grand tableau, just in a bigger setting. And so you can kind of know that this sort of is going to apply to when you move on to a bigger setting. But here we have the set of orange arrows that's saying, okay, we're going to read the orange arrows that are going to talk about some of the basic issues. And it's going to go, you don't go like this. I mean, you can do anything you want, but traditionally you're going to go like this and sort of cross your arrows here. So you're going to go from 2 to 9 and then from 4 to 7 when you're laying it out with 1 being in the middle. I probably made this more confusing and should have just 1, 2, 3, 4, but well, again, take it step by step. You know, don't, it's at first you're going to have to like literally have this next to you, and you can say, okay, well, here, now we're at number 5, and we're going to read the orange arrows, and we're going to go from 2. Okay, there's 2. So you may need to at first do that, but the more you do it, it will just become second nature, and you won't even really think about it. And then when you lay out your grand tableau, you're going to do some of these same things. So here we have clouds and garden, and then we have tree, the tree here, and we have the stars. Now, this is a good place to make note of something. When you're reading Lenormand cards, just because you have taken this card, when you're reading these 3 cards and interpreted it one way, when you move on to another way of looking at the cards, say your corners, that doesn't mean this is going to necessarily stay exactly as it was. So while, let's say in the future, this may be talking about future connections that she's going to make, moving into this job, moving forward. That's maybe going to take her further down the road to her what she's looking for long term. When we look at it this way, we're not bound by that original assessment because we're now looking at a new sentence, if that makes sense. We're looking at this in a different way. It may stay the same throughout, especially if it's a key card. Like I think we saw with the mice. No, with the birds in the first video. Sometimes it's a key component of the reading and it does stay the same, but sometimes it's in flux, and that is part of Lenormand. It stays in, it changes in relation to the cards and the way that we're looking at. We may be looking here in the future, and here we may be looking at underlying issues, right? And so that changes depending on what it is that you're doing. And right now we're kind of looking at some basic issues. And so here we have clouds. So basically we're doing, again, a 2-card reading in a sense, but we're also kind of flowing it together with the other two. And we have, one of the basic issues is a sense of, there are some social issues. So remember, if issues is the focus, we know it's regarding, this is modifying the issue and saying there's some issues around social, about groupings, about friends. There's some problems there that, and so that has created a sense of isolation in the client. And that is certainly an underlying issue. And the more that we're socially isolated from friend groupings, and if we don't have any work groupings, we start to get isolated, and it becomes more and more difficult to put yourself out there, which is what you have to do with a job. And so that is certainly an underlying issue. But then we have it going to the tree and the stars. And so we have, again, that sense of well-being being tied up in her going. And you even have this, which at first I wasn't real happy, to be honest, with there being a person in the stars card. I have come to quite like it, because that is sort of, he's looking up to the stars. He's reading the stars and charting his path with the stars. And so I have quite enjoyed that. Initially, I just want to see stars when I'm looking at a Lenormand card. I don't want something, this isn't a man card, this isn't a journey card, journeyer card, like this is stars, and I just want to focus on that. But that has come to be quite a nice thing, because it does sort of give us that feeling of charting out your journey, and you're going on this adventure. And so her sense of well-being is going to be tied up in her having that long-range goal, and she's going to be able to work through this smaller work issues, because she does have that sense of a future, that sense of where she's moving towards. You can put up with a lot of things. You can kind of do that grind job that you have to do to get by when you know you're getting someplace, right? And so in her sense of well-being, because she's not been in a place of real healthy well-being, her sense of well-being is going to come from having that forward ability to look forward. So we have those as our 4 corners there. Then you can also look at your diamond. You can look at, if you look at, you can see sort of a diamond that comes around the anchor card, around your central card. And these are often internal or hidden aspects. And the way that you read this, and again, everybody is different. You might read something else that says to read it like this. Somebody might say to read it this way. You might just, whatever feels right for you, as long as you're reading the diamond. But the way that I read it, and I believe it's also lined out that way in Caitlin Matthews' works, is to go from here to here to here to here, which is what you'll see with the blue arrows. So again, I know this is very messy, but if you just take the color, you see that zigzag that gets you through these particular cards. So in the way that I'm going to look at this, I'm going to read it like this with the diamonds. So we have that sense of good fortune that is coming from the choice that needed to be made, that is leading her towards transformation and leading her to a new perspective in finding a job. So we have this sense that this her good fortune, this invitation, which can again also can be like an offer or a job offer that's going to come out of this. She's done a lot of hard work to get to this point where she's really made a choice, like we talked about. She's made a choice to move in this new direction, and really, because you can look at things in all different ways. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay, if I was reading this, just as strictly a reading, I might go off and say you even have that here where we've got the sense of good fortune that's coming from this choice. And she's made this choice not only to move towards her destiny, but to look at work from a new perspective like we've talked about. And so we have that sense that there is going to come good fortune from the choice that she's made that has led her to this sense of transformation, which we've already seen that sense, and that sense of transformation that's giving her this new perspective on her job and this new way that she's looking, even in the sense of the job that's going to just pay the bills. It's not only going to affect the long term, but also the way that she's looking at things in a new way is going to let her see offers that she maybe wouldn't have seen before, maybe accept offers that she wouldn't have accepted before. It's kind of opening the playing field because she's come up with a new way of looking at what she's looking for. And so there is that sense of this good changes, good fortune that's going to come from her decision towards transformation, towards changing. But it's not necessarily going to be a quick one. And we'll get into timing more in another video. But I often get with snakes that sense, you know, it's a winding path. It's not a straight path. It's probably not going to happen tomorrow. But we certainly have the sense that we're moving towards a new option with her job, and that she needs to be prepared to have sort of an open mind about it, at looking at it differently than she was, because the old way wasn't working. And so you can kind of look there at your diamond shape that's around here. Now you can stop right there. Like that very much might have answered your question that you're looking for. If you want more confirmation, you can read your sets then going this way. And a lot of times they will literally reinforce what you've already seen. Just it sort of did something, but sometimes you'll get a little bit of a nuance change, and that will give you again another layer of information, but oftentimes it's a reinforcement sort of thing. So you could stop right here, or you could kind of just skim them and see if something stands out. So we have that sense of darkness, but see, we've got the light moving, and the sense of good fortune is lifting the clouds up, and that's going to lead to a sense of contentment and sense of well-being, and even physical well-being. When you're able to lift those, that you're under this really dark space, anything you can do to sort of lift that up is definitely going to help your overall sense of well-being, which also impacts, when you're looking for work, how you're presenting yourself, what it is you're looking and seeing as options. All of that is impacted, sorry about that, when your sense of well-being is lifted up. And we also have that, this decisions that she's making in terms of job is leading to transformation. And that yes, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not maybe something that's going to happen right away, but you're going in that right direction. I love how the connection with this, we have this new the far-reaching look for a job, and then we also have that sense of a new job and something new coming up that are kind of connected to that card right there. And then over here we have that sense of looking forward to the destiny is going to lead to something new, and it's going to broaden the social things, because as we talked about, when you're in that darker space where you're feeling really depressed, you're really being oppressed, you're not working, it really restricts sometimes your social grouping. And in the terms of this particular client, that is definitely the truth. And so that when you're moving, as she moves forward towards her long-term goals and takes advantage of this new opportunity of good fortune and work that's going to be coming her way, that's going to open up her social issues that were something that we've also talked about in the past. It's going to open up her community circle, her friendship circle. All those things are going to start opening up, which also ties in as she's moving forward with her long-term goals. That sense of the bigger community is going to play a part in that. And so we get to see that across here. So this is just an example of how you might read a 9-card spread by itself like this. And this, as I said, this looking at all these cards that circle around a central issue is very much a key component of Lenormand, because we're going to see this next as we go to lay the grand tableau. We're going to see this, that we're going to pick these 9-card groupings out around the different around the spread, and so this becomes a really key component to work with. And so I hope that this has been some help. I know that, you know, there's so many ways to go about trying to show how to do a reading, and I thought at least at the get-go actually doing a reading might be helpful. I mean, I kind of second guess myself. You know, it might also be something that's not interesting to watch when it's not about you. But it just seemed a good way to start that wasn't just purely academic, like look, and just kind of throwing out academic. If we actually had some substance behind what we're trying to find, I thought that might be helpful. So we're going to go ahead and finish, obviously, this up, and then the next video we're going to do a grand tableau and sort of walk through the steps of how I might look at a grand tableau. And then after that, we're going to kind of see where we're going to go next, but that's sort of the next step. So I hope that this has been helpful in the last video with the 5 and 6 card, and just sort of showing you with actual readings how you might approach them with Lenormand. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.